Some years ago, I lived in a small, nice, suburban neighborhood. I had a decent job and probably overpaid on my house, but it wasn't the biggest or richest area, just a standard, normal place to live. I really had no bad things to say about living there. But this one encounter pretty much ruined the entire area for me, and I genuinely don't think I'll ever fully get over how disturbing it was. I've always been somewhat of a night owl, staying up late and often would go for long, quiet walks once the sun went down and everyone else in the neighborhood went to sleep. It was peaceful and had a sense of solitude that I really liked. This was on one of those quiet nights where I took my dog, Finn, out for a long walk. Finn was a small dachshund mix and surprisingly quiet for his breed. Very shy, not aggressive, or a big barker. We walked for a long time, winding through the empty neighborhood streets, enjoying the peacefulness and taking in the cold weather. To describe the way the houses on this street were, basically, there was a large gap in between each home. There would be a house, then a large grassy field, and then another house, and so on. At night, those grassy fields between each home were pitch black because the lights from either house didn't reach that far. Awaz thodi dimi, our sons ruki hui. As we walked, I suddenly started to hear something through the soft winds. I stopped, with Finn next to me. I heard it again. Across the street, in that void between two houses, I was hearing laughter. A girl or woman. It was hard to know for sure. Could have even been a kid. Was somewhere in the darkness, laughing softly, like she was watching me, right there in the shadows. But I couldn't see a thing. After looking for a while, I got really uncomfortable and pulled Finn along to keep walking. A little later, I was sure that it must have been a kid just laughing for no reason, probably living in one of those nearby houses. Still didn't make all that much sense to me, but it was whatever. Finn and I walked for a while longer, eventually circling back around and going down that street again on the way back home. When we passed by the dark gap between the two houses where I'd heard the laughter from, the girl wasn't there. I didn't hear any laughter or voices. Eventually, we got home. It was so late. I didn't bother going through turning the lights back on. I just headed right upstairs with Finn, showering and getting in bed. Finn slept in the room with me, usually burrowing under my comforter. I was really tired, but I was tossing and turning for a while. I don't think I was thinking about much of anything. I just didn't feel right, feeling the need to open my eyes every few minutes. It went on like that for a while, and I don't even remember falling asleep. Pause. I just remember waking up and opening my eyes later. The room was dark, and when I rolled over, I didn't feel Finn anywhere on the bed with me. I looked up and saw him sitting right next to the bedroom door, head tilted and ears perked. He didn't look scared or like he had to go to the bathroom. But something definitely had his attention. "Finn, you okay, buddy?" He looked back at me and then walked up to the side of my bed, turning back around and facing the door, then sitting down. He was still focused on the door. Usually if I called his name, he'd get excited and jump up on the bed. But this was really unusual. Whisper, Dimi Awaz. And then I heard it. The muffled, faint sound of laughter. The same quiet laughter I'd heard on the walk that night. I recognized it immediately because it was quiet and muffled. I thought the girl was outside my home, like right at the front door. I quickly got up and told Finn to stay, just to keep him quiet and safe, then walked out of the bedroom and closed the door behind me. I went to the stairs and walked down, then approached the front door and looked out the eye hole. The porch was empty. She wasn't out there. I kept looking, staring at nothing, because I was so sure that I'd heard her shocked tone. But then, she laughed again. It was louder, not muffled at all. She was inside my home. I turned around. All the lights were still off. But right behind me was the opening to the living room. There was a woman, outlined in the blackness. She was sitting on the couch, facing right at me, and she had a smile across her face as she let out another horrifying, soft laugh. When I saw her, I honestly didn't even know what went through my head in that moment. I'm even surprised that I didn't just faint from the sudden fear.
I ran right up the stairs into my room, grabbing Finn and calling the police from the bedroom closet, hiding and hoping she'd stay downstairs and didn't come chasing. From the closet, I couldn't really hear anything, which actually made it a whole lot more terrifying. I don't know whether she came upstairs or not. When police came by, they actually found the woman walking down the sidewalk in the neighborhood. She stood out, walking in the cold late at night, with nothing but a thin nightgown on. And she was very clearly not well. They didn't find any weapons on her, but she had a history of violence and didn't even live in the area. She'd been unheard from for some time by her family, and I guess she had some issues. The family tried to claim she was sleepwalking and just followed me home and broke in without being fully conscious. But I don't know if I buy it. I also don't know if she'd been stalking me for more than just that night. Because the way they found she broke in was by smashing a window in the back of my house. Obviously, I would have woken up by that, so I'm thinking, after I heard her laughing and watching me from the darkness across the street, she probably already knew where I lived and my nightly walking routine. So she watched me walk away, then broke into my home while I was still out, which means when I got home, she was somewhere in the dark, maybe even right there on the couch, watching me as I went straight upstairs to go to bed. Whatever the case, it was all enough to keep her out of the public for a while. I never fully recovered from it though, and felt like I had to move out of that house. That image of her on the couch, quietly laughing, with that hollow, emotionless, wide smile, is so disturbing and creepy that I still haven't been sleeping well. I wake up constantly throughout the night, feeling like I have to look around and make sure I'm alone. Finn isn't exactly the best guard dog, but having him as a second set of ears to listen for anything makes me feel a little better. This all went down several years ago now. The woman was released and everything, but so far, nothing else has happened. I search her name up every so often just to see, almost waiting and expecting something horrible. But thankfully, it's been quiet.